says his chief of staff could be gone.
Plus, we'll go live to Florida, where the vote counting has finally stopped after 12 long days since the midterms. Official results set to be certified Tuesday.
Searchers find more dead in the charred landscape of the California wildfires. To Malibu with when the recovery can begin. President got back overnight here to Washington from the fire area. I'm Leland Vittert. Nice to be with you.
And good morning, good afternoon, I should say to you. I'm Jillian Turner. President Trump joined Chris Wallace for an exclusive interview on Fox News Sunday earlier today. He weighed in on the Khashoggi investigation, the future of the bilateral relationship with Saudi Arabia, and said it's time to demand decorum from the White House press corps. Ellison Barber's at the White House today. She's got the inside scoop on that interview. Ellison?
Hi, Jillian. Turkey's president said that he gave the U.S. a tape of the Khashoggi murder. President Trump confirmed that. He says, though, that he was briefed on the tape, but he says he did not personally listen to it. In his words, he called it a suffering tape. He said it was vicious, violent, and terrible. The CIA reportedly concluded that the Saudi crown prince, Mohammed bin Salman, ordered Khashoggi's murder. Saudi Arabia denies that. President Trump told Fox News Sunday the Crown Prince has told him roughly 5 times that he was not involved in Khashoggi's death. Our colleague Chris Wallace then asked the question, what if the Crown Prince is lying?
Do you just live with it because you need him?
Well, will anybody really know? All right. Will anybody really know? But he did have certainly people that were reasonably close to him that were probably involved. You saw we put on very heavy sanctions, massive sanctions on a large group of people from Saudi Arabia. But at the same time, we do have an ally, and I want to stick with an ally that in many ways has been very good.
The State Department says the U.S. government has not made a final conclusion in regards to the murder of Mr. Khashoggi. They say there are still, quote, numerous unanswered questions. President Trump told reporters yesterday to expect a full report by Tuesday. This interview went all around the globe, from North Korea to Iran to the midterm elections to what happens in the press room here at the White House, specifically in regards to reporting.
We have to create rules and regulations for conduct, et cetera, et cetera. We're doing that. We're going to write them up right now. It's not a big deal. I think one of the things we'll do is maybe turn the camera off that faces them, because then they don't have any airtime.
A federal judge appointed by President Trump ordered the White House to temporarily restore the press pass of CNN's Jim Acosta. The White House took away his press pass after a testy exchange between President Trump and Mr. Acosta. Fox News filed an amicus brief supporting CNN in that legal fight. Jillian?
Thanks for that, Ellison. You can see the entire interview with the president at the top of the hour on Fox News Sunday, coming up right after this.
Andrew Gillum has officially conceded the Florida gubernatorial election to Republican Ron DeSantis, but the race between Senator Bill Nelson and Governor Rick Scott yet to be certified. Phil Keating on the ground as the counting has ended. Now we wait for the certification. Hi, Phil.
Hi, Leland. It's so over down here in West Palm Beach County. We have been kicked out of the building. That's right. The noon deadline has passed. All 67 counties have now sent via the computer and internet their final count numbers up to the Secretary of State's office in Tallahassee. And on Tuesday, as you mentioned, the state canvassing board will certify the results. This morning, the race for the Senate race, their campaign of Republican Governor Rick Scott again calling on Democratic Senator Bill Nelson to concede and give it up. Quote, be remembered as the statesman who graciously conceded after 42 years of public service, or be remembered as the sore loser who refused to face the people he served. In that super close Senate race, Florida's Republican Governor Scott is expected to be declared the winner by the state's canvassing board on Tuesday. For the past 12 days, he's been ahead of Nelson by about 12,500 votes. In the also close governor's race, out of more than 8 million votes cast in Florida, Republican Ron DeSantis has beaten Democratic Tallahassee Mayor Andrew Gillum by about 33,000 votes. Last night, Gillum conceded a second time via Facebook.
We said that we will fight until the last vote is counted. Obviously, we are now closing out the hand recount phase in 2 of the statewide races. We wanted to make sure that every single vote, including those that were overvotes, undervotes, as long as it was a legally cast vote, we wanted those votes to be counted. And now that we are rounding that process out, RJ and I wanted to take a moment to congratulate Mr. DeSantis on becoming the next governor of the great state of Florida.
Right after that, this from the DeSantis campaign, quote, "This was a hard-fought campaign. Now it's time to bring Florida together." President Trump yesterday tweeting out a congratulations to DeSantis and even sent out a very nice tweet about Andrew Gillum, calling him a very hard fighter in the state of Florida. And he expects to see him soon, as do many of us. Now, once the Division of Elections numbers crunchers up in Tallahassee, who are right now working on all of the final results, once they complete that, we expect they will then post those today sometime on the website. Leland?
We will be watching. Phil Keating now outside of the Board of Elections. Appreciated, Phil. Jillian?
Yeah. Yep.
President Trump insists he's written answers to all of Robert Mueller's questions himself, and he says he answered them easily. But it is looking less and less likely that he'll do a sit-down interview with the special counsel. Garrett Tenney's got the latest on the investigation. Garrett, thanks for joining us.
Jillian, great to be with you. So the president has long said that he is open to sitting down with Robert Mueller to answer questions as long as those questions aren't related to any alleged obstruction of justice. In his interview with Chris Wallace, President Trump said that probably won't happen, though, and his hope is that the written answers his legal team is preparing to submit this next week will be enough.
We gave very, very complete answers to a lot of questions that I shouldn't have even been asked, and I think that should solve the problem. I hope it solves the problem. If it doesn't, I'll be told and we'll make a decision at that time. But probably this is the end.
The president was also asked about acting Attorney General Matt Whitaker's very public past criticisms of the Mueller investigation. Mr. Trump said he didn't know about those views when he picked Whitaker and didn't think it would impact the case. But if Whitaker did take action against Mueller, the president said he wouldn't stop it.
If Whitaker decides in any way to limit or curtail the Mueller investigation, are you okay with that?
Look, it's going to be up to him. I think he's very well aware politically. I think he's astute politically. He's a very smart person, a very respected person. He's going to do what's right. I really believe he's going to do what's right.
But you won't overrule him if he decides to curtail.
I would not get involved. And all these people that say, I'm going to end the investigation, they've been saying that now for, how long has this witch hunt gone on? It's gone on for what?
Democrats and some Republicans are concerned that Whitaker could try to interfere in Mueller's work or possibly prevent the final report from being made public. And today, across the Sunday shows, Democrats continue to call on the acting attorney general to recuse himself from the case.
He needs to know that if he takes any action to curb what Mr. Mueller does, we're going to find out about it. We're going to expose it. And I would certainly call on my colleagues right now to avoid the constitutional crisis. Take action now. Speak out against this appointment.
Democrats are trying to pressure Matt Whitaker to recuse himself and urging Republicans to come out against him as well. But today, Congressman Elijah Cummings, who's set to chair the Oversight Committee, conceded that he doesn't think Congress actually has the power to force Whitaker to recuse himself, saying that this public pressure campaign will hopefully be enough, with Democrats and Republicans coming on board to make that happen. No sign that it will, though.
No sign that it will. Garrett, thanks for that.
You got it.
Here to weigh in on all of this is former U.S. Attorney and partner at Avenue Strategies, Bud Cummins. Bud, thank you for your time this afternoon. I want to get right to the heart of the matter with you here, which is when it comes to an ongoing investigation into the current president's campaign, isn't it of the utmost importance that the person who has the ultimate say over that investigation has at least the appearance of being absolutely neutral?
I think the person that has the authority to oversee the investigation should act neutrally and not let politics invade their decisions. I don't know I don't know. They haven't really suggested a person that could be appointed that they think doesn't have an opinion about what's gone on for the last 2 years.
Well, if we look
so
at
I don't know
current,
that person even exists.
Well, we look at the current acting Attorney General Whitaker, and, well, I'll let you decide for yourself, but here is what he said about the ongoing probe.
I could see a scenario where Jeff Sessions is replaced with a recess appointment, and that Attorney General doesn't fire Bob Mueller, but he just reduces his budget so low that his investigation grinds to almost a halt.
So, you know, talk like that is certainly, I mean, can we agree that that's at the very least not neutral? He's publicly on national television weighed in on the investigation.
He's been invited on a show to render an opinion. I'm on your show today, and if you ask me a question about what I think from the outside looking in about the investigation, I'll be happy to tell you that opinion. We don't get invited on these shows to say I really don't have anything to say about that. So he expressed an opinion based on what he could see on that outside looking in. If you ask me those questions and I express an opinion of criticism of the investigation, and tomorrow the president asked me to serve in the Department of Justice, I would be entirely able, as I know Matt Whitaker is, as I know most of our colleagues that we've served with over the last 15 years are, to hang the politics at the door and let facts and law drive our decision making. We take pride in our ability to do that. A lot of us who have served in these roles were candidates before and wore different hats, maybe in the media. But when you work at the Department of Justice, the job is to hang the politics at the door and let facts and law drive those decisions. When I became a United States attorney, I'll tell you who explained that to me, John Ashcroft, in a one-on-one meeting. And he looked me right in the eye.
But the problem,
he said, if you don't understand this, you're not going to be a U.S. attorney very long.
Big part of the problem is gaining the public's trust. And when you have somebody who has weighed in so publicly, forget what the opinion is, right? Doesn't matter if you're pro-Trump, anti-Trump, pro the investigation, anti the investigation, he's weighed in a public forum. A lot of people, not just Democrats, a lot of people feel that that should be disqualifying because it's so hard to gain back that ground.
Who do they think that the president can go appoint that won't get this same criticism? What person do they know that hasn't had an opinion about the special counsel investigation for the last 2 years, whether they said it on TV or not?
Point. Yeah, I mean, in this day and age, it's hard to find somebody that hasn't expressed one kind of an opinion or another, which gets us to the idea of when it comes to getting a permanent replacement in there. Do you think it's important for the president to get somebody in there as quickly as possible, or do you think he can afford to take his time and maybe let Whitaker be in there for months?
I'm sure the president intends to make a permanent appointment as soon as he can, but he also knows that that person needs to be thoroughly vetted because he will be injecting that person into one of the most vitriolic confirmation environments we've ever seen, just based on the recent Kavanaugh confirmation. Perhaps the time that it takes to find the replacement will be finding somebody that's willing to subject themselves and their family to the politics and the vitriol that takes place in Senate confirmation hearings today. But I'm certain that he wants to put a person in there.
Satellite images from outer space. Meteorologist Adam Klotz is monitoring the skies from the Fox Extreme Weather Center. Adam, what can residents expect in terms of weather?
Well, Jillian, maybe some good news a couple days out. We're still a little ways away from that. Still high fire danger across the region. Everything you're seeing in the pink highlighted areas is a red flag warning. And again, that's right around Paradise where the campfire is. So the conditions are still good there for more fires to set off or for at least that fire to continue to grow. You noticed everything you're looking at, those little wind barbs. That's the motion of the wind, grabbing that, pushing it towards San Francisco, an area where they've been battling with some of those, maybe not the wildfire, but the smoke from it. That's become a problem that's stretched across a large portion of the state. What ends up happening with those winds, you have the Sierra Nevadas off just to the east. That smoke ends up funneling down in this valley, getting stuck, and folks from Sacramento farther south just battling, just again, day after day, heavy smoke. Tough to get outside. Now, there are going to be some improvement in those conditions in the next couple of days, but at least through the rest of the weekend and into Monday, I think we're going to continue to battle at least off and on some of those smoky conditions. Here's your relative humidity, still dry, which is fueling some of these fires and will continue to do so. No sight of rain here in the last 6 hours as you're seeing a dry setup. But if we can look at an extended forecast, there's finally going to be a little bit of change on the horizon. There's your timestamp, so I take you through Sunday, Monday, even dry on Tuesday. But by the time we get into Wednesday, you start to see a large system begin to run onshore. This is going to begin in Northern California. Before it's all said and done, Southern California is going to get this too. Jillian, we're looking at Wednesday into Thursday, so we're talking about Thanksgiving. Maybe not best for folks who want to travel, but something to be thankful for is finally we start to see some rain move across these regions that really need it.
Thanks for that, Adam.
Yep.
All right, coming up, does Nancy Pelosi have the votes to be the next Speaker of the House? And if she doesn't, should President Trump help her out? Plus, what happens when a hot air balloon is loaded with fireworks? As you can tell by this video, it's not a good result. And back up at the border as more and more migrants arrive from Central America and try to cross into the United States. William Lajeunesse on the ground, Tijuana, Mexico, with the Caravan. Hi, William.
So these people support a wall on their southern border. They want no more caravans. I'll have a live report coming up.
Tensions are on the rise along the U.S. southern border today, just south of San Diego, as asylum-seeking migrants continue to arrive. Correspondent William Lajeunesse has been traveling with the caravans for 5 weeks now. He joins us from Tijuana this afternoon. William?
So, Jillian, what is happening right now? This is an anti-caravan, anti-immigrant rally that I'm at right now, and there's another pro-caravan rally going on a short distance away. Well, they've now clashed a little bit on the back side here, and they're basically shouting down one of these activists who's trying to tell them they are wrong. So the message that's coming from this group, if you will, is number one, you came into Mexico in a violent manner, down at that bridge, as you said, about 5 weeks ago in Guatemala. Secondly, they're saying, hey, we're not necessarily anti-immigrant. We are definitely anti-invasion, and that's how they see that. A lot of the people here actually support a wall on their southern border, saying that the Mexican federal government has failed to control its southern border, and they fear, like the United States does, unless this caravan stops, there'll be more of them. Now, Mexico has been for many, many years kind of an invisible pipeline of individuals from Central America who are using it as a stepping stone coming to the United States. The difference this time is, of course, the United States is shutting down our southern border, both with the asylum claims, also with the increase in border security. That means that as these people come into a town like Tijuana, they are going to stay here. By the estimates of the governor, it could be 6 to 18 months that they will be here. That, they believe, will drive down wages and bring in crime. We were at a shelter earlier today, actually yesterday as well. You have the main shelter, which is housing about 3,000 people maximum. They're expecting already 6,200 here, another 3,000 by tomorrow coming up from Mexico City. There are also private shelters that are overflowing. We visited one where they say they're not getting any water from the government.
It's not enough. The funds that we get from the people is only like minimal, 20 pesos, you know, that covers almost nothing. So we have to wash, we have to get all the cleaning supplies and everything, and now we have extra people here, and the government is not helping us.
Get up higher, that's all. You're fine, you're good, you're good. So the fear is today, one of the fears, that the Mexican government, what do you got? Oh, that either they're pushing someone out, which is, I believe, is what's happening. They're trying, so this rally is clashing with the other rally right now. That's what you're seeing, and they are pushing them away. Now, the migrant rally, we believe, in total is going to be a lot more people than this one. In fact, they were actually afraid that they would be belittled by the media because they were going to be smaller. You can see them waving the Mexican flags, wearing the Mexican green. Well, they are pushing those activists out right now. That's what you see happening there. But the fear is, by the Mexican police as well as the U.S. Border Patrol, is that the migrant caravan is going to show up at the port of entry and have a sit-in, if you will, on those 28 lanes of traffic and literally shutting down the border on a Sunday. That would be disastrous. Jillian?
William, thanks for all of your reporting these last weeks on this. Stay safe out there. Leland?
William's been down with the caravan for 5 or 6 weeks now, traveling with him. With that, we bring in Texas Congressman Louis Gohmert, who is joining us. Congressman, you've been outspoken on the need for a border wall. Is this the last chance now, coming up in a couple of weeks in Congress, for funding for a border wall before Dems take over the House?
Yes, I was begging our colleagues back in September to please, before we recess for October, let's get the president money for a border wall. And by the way, I think if we do that, we'll stay in the majority. But there were crickets. They refused to do it. And so now we're heading to the minority. And I know there's a feeling among some Republicans that we should just, using a football metaphor, take the snap and then fall on the ball. But we have until the Democrats are sworn in January. We ought to take advantage of every day to do all we can. But one of the most important things is to build a wall where we need it. We don't need it all 2,000 miles.
Congressman, I know we don't need people can debate over exactly whether you need a wall or a fence or drones or whatever. But the fact remains that this is a unfulfilled promise to Republican voters, and one that, by your own admission, by a Republican Congress, it's a Republican House, Republican Senate, Republican in the White House. Do you worry that if you don't get border wall funding done in December, that Republican voters are going to hold you and some of your colleagues responsible come the next election?
Well, they've already held the House responsible. That's what that was a contributor in us losing the majority. As I told our colleagues in September, look, the president's voters are going to come out in 2020 because they know he's done everything he can. But we have not helped him keep those promises, and so we've already been accountable.
Hold on, has the president really done everything he can? He could have said, "I'm not going to sign a spending bill that doesn't have border wall funding in it." That would have been an option.
Well, that's what he has said now. He has tried to work with Congress, and he has made clear, "You better send me border wall funding."
Are you confident? Are you confident that the president's going to lay down the law on this one? That he's willing to shut down the government and force funding into this bill?
I believe he is. I believe he's very serious because he sees, especially with what the alt-left said didn't exist, and we know now, it really is an invasion. If we don't do it now, we don't fund this now, it's not going to happen. And what a lot of people don't realize, you can't maintain self-government if you don't have educated voters in how you go about maintaining self-government. So it is critical for the ongoing of the country.
In the weeks before Christmas, the House and Senate wants to head home for the holidays. There's the showdown being set up here, if you will. We'll continue the football metaphor. You're right down near the goal line, but can't get it through, can't get it in. On one side, you have you and your caucus. On the other side, you're going to have sound bites like this one. Take a listen, and then we'll talk about it.
President Trump, please help us, she said. I would get on my knees and beg. Don't send us back, she continued. We're walking and scared. You say you'll militarize the border, but I pray to God that with our evidence of persecution, you won't send us back. I fear for my family's life. Please, Mr. Trump, open the doors for us. I beg you.
Is this an untenable or perhaps, shall we?
Absolutely not. The best thing we can do to help those people is build a wall where we need it, cut down any illegal immigration, because we are funding the corruption in Mexico. Mexico has some of the best workers in the world, natural resources, great location. The only reason they're not a top 10 economy and all of those people living a wonderful life is because we're funding the drug cartels. Build the wall where we need it, stop anybody coming in illegally, and you won't have people crying on the borders because things will be going so well in Mexico.
Okay. All right. Congressman, we'll leave it there. Appreciate it, and come back and talk to us as the funding war begins.
Good
to see you, Jillian.
You bet. Thanks.
The party is divided over who should be the next Speaker of the House. We'll break down who's supporting Nancy Pelosi and who might run against her. Coming up next.
All of us are leaders, but we could only have one speaker at a time. Nancy Pelosi has simply been phenomenal.
President Trump says he's talked to CIA Director Gina Haspel about reports of an agency finding that Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman ordered the killing of Jamal Khashoggi.
Well, we're taking a look at it. You know, we also have a great ally in Saudi Arabia. They give us a lot of jobs. They give us a lot of business, a lot of economic development. They have been a truly spectacular ally in terms of jobs and economic development. And I also take that, I'm president, I have to take a lot of things into consideration.
Joining me now is former National Security Council Chief of Staff Fred Fleitz. He departed the administration just a few weeks ago. We're delighted to have him with us to get your perspective today. Fred, this report.
Well, Jillian, it's great to be here. Look, let's first stipulate that this was a major intelligence failure and the law was broken. The CIA has to make sure that sensitive intelligence like this is not leaked. This was disseminated far too widely on the Hill to administration officials. And the people who leaked this, they broke the law. They want the president to implement their preferred policies on Saudi Arabia. This stuff is supposed to help the president make decisions, not make the decision for him. And I hope there are prosecutions.
Is this on Gina Haspel, on the director?
I'm sure Gina Haspel had nothing to do with the leak, but I think that Haspel and the CIA have to take extra steps to make sure that information this sensitive doesn't get leaked. I would have only shown this to 5 people: the president, the vice president, Ambassador Bolton, Secretary Pompeo, and Secretary Mattis. That would be it. I think it was so predictable that the president's enemies would leak this. I think Haspel has to take new steps to protect this kind of information.
Clearly, if something this sensitive, I mean, you know, this story has gripped the nation since October 2nd when it broke, or since Jamal went missing. On top of being highly classified, it's incredibly sensitive. I mean, it's state secrets par excellence. So the fact that this could still get leaked from the agency is a little bit devastating.
And it may not have been the agency, it may have been Congress. I understand this was widely disseminated in Congress, and this leads us to what's going to happen when Adam Schiff takes over the House Intelligence Committee. I think he's been leaking right and left. And when sensitive material like this comes up, can he be trusted with it? Will we have to have briefings only to the Gang of 4, the top Republican and Democrats in Congress? Maybe sensitive intelligence will no longer be shared with the House Intelligence Committee once Adam Schiff takes over the chairmanship.
So I understand your political critique of Adam Schiff, but you really think that he would be willing to compromise the nation's secrets that could potentially hurt members of the administration?
Look, I hate to make such an accusation, but I've worked very closely with members and staff of the House Intelligence Committee, and it was so bad in this committee, Jillian, that the current majority started to build a wall between the Democrat and Republican staffers because so much material was being leaked by the Democratic side. I mean, they've had to work without Democratic input because so much material has been leaked. I mean, I call them like I see them, and I think the leaking problem in that committee has been terrible, and I blame the Democrats.
Part of it is undoubtedly, from their perspective, this criticism that they've been mounting this criticism against the president since the story broke, which was that he's not been forceful enough. He has not condemned the Saudis. He didn't condemn them early enough or forcefully enough. And now, as a result, he's worried, Schiff and other Democrats are worried they're going to get away scot-free with, you know, one of the most gruesome intelligence murders that have become public in the 21st century.
It is gruesome. It's reprehensible, and something has to be done. But what I see is that the left and the Washington Post want to hurt Saudi Arabia so badly that we could lose them as an ally and will hand the region to Iran. That's unacceptable. We have to find a way to hold the Saudis accountable without compromising a crucial relationship with one of our most important allies in the Middle East. And I don't think the left is bringing that into consideration. I think the president knows that. I know Pompeo and Bolton know that. That's the challenge.
So if we look at the nuts and bolts of what that means, right? Maintaining this strategic alliance, this strategic relationship, but making sure that we punish them when they behave so gruesomely, right? So far, we've got what? We've got sanctions. We've got visas revoked from folks that the Trump administration thinks are responsible. But surely that's not enough, right?
Well, I mean...
That's like a slap on the wrist.
We have to deal with states with horrendous human rights records. China is oppressing the Uyghurs. It's oppressing the people in Tibet. It has lots of journalists locked up. Are we going to stop dealing with China because of their human rights record? There's lots of states we have to have a relationship with, even though they may have horrendous human rights records, because this is a dangerous world. We have to make some difficult decisions, and the president has to make these difficult decisions.
All right, last answer in 5 seconds. If you're talking to the president tomorrow and he says, Fred, should I keep the director of Homeland Security or let her go? What do I do?
I like
the Secretary of Homeland Security.
I like Kirstjen Nielsen. From my perspective, she's made a good job, but I'm not going to comment otherwise on White House staffing issues.
All right, Fred, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it. We'll have you back soon.
All right, joining 17 other current or incoming Democrats intending to vote against Nancy Pelosi for House Speaker. Pelosi says despite the opposition, she has the votes to clinch the seat. How about that? We bring in our radio panel. Garrett Lewis, Tucson, Arizona. Richard Eads, Santa Fe, New Mexico. The boys from the West now on Fox News. All right, Richard, first to you here. Democrats can find about 20 or 25 people to toss their hats in to think about running for president, and yet they can't find anybody to take on Nancy Pelosi for Speaker. What makes her either so powerful or so feared?
Well, good morning from Santa Fe, and thank you for having me. Changing Nancy Pelosi, replacing Nancy Pelosi just for the sake of replacing Nancy Pelosi without somebody that is going to step up, that has a plan, that has a policy, that has a vision, does not make any sense. Here in New Mexico,
but Richard, that goes to the heart of the question. You got 220 plus Democrats now, 230 plus Democrats in the House. None of them have a plan. None of them are better than Nancy Pelosi. None of them are even good enough to challenge her. Why is she so feared by Democrats?
I don't know if it's a matter of fear. Once again, she's done a good job in the past. The Democrats just picked up at least 36 seats, maybe as many as 40 seats. She's a big part of that success, along with Ben Ray Lujan, congressman from here in Santa Fe. She's a big part of that. You can't discount the work she's done in the past, her connections in the past. She does have a base of power in Congress that is substantial, but there's no lack of competition either for Speaker. Maybe there's too much attention on Speaker, not enough on committee heads.
Is this a gift for the Republicans, this infighting within the Democrats?
Oh, it's the ultimate gift. You nailed it. There is no plan. Now, unfortunately, the Republicans had horrible messaging in the midterms, but the Democrats had no plan, yet they won those seats. And now you have the outsiders, I guess you can call them, Ocasio-Cortez, already doing conference calls with Justice Democrats saying that they're going to oust incumbent Democrats if they're not socialist or progressive enough. And this is a big headache for Nancy Pelosi.
It almost feels like what happened a la 2010 as the Tea Party took over parts of the right of the Republican Party. Bring in a soundbite from yesterday when we had part of the Democratic wannabe leadership team up for election within the Democratic leadership on the air yesterday. Take a listen.
We're not relying on one person. We have a strong and diverse caucus. We have lots of new people in leadership. And so I expect that when we have our leadership elections, we're going to elect a team that reflects the talent and the diversity of our caucus.
All right, Richard. You okay with the slate right now?
Absolutely, positively. We have. If you look at the photographs of the incoming freshmen, Democrats' incoming freshmen, that tells a story. It is a very diverse group, very diverse people running for leadership.
Right, but the leadership list is virtually the same, and their combined ages are about as old as the Republic itself. Tweet from the president just now that we want to bring in for you, Garrett. The mayor of Tijuana, Mexico, just stated that the city is ill-prepared to handle this many migrants. The backlog could last 6 months. Likewise, the U.S. is ill-prepared for this invasion and will not stand for it. They are causing crime and big problems in Mexico. Go home. Immigration was a huge issue, Garrett, there in Arizona, but it was Kyrsten Sinema who won. The Republican messaging on it just wasn't enough.
That's right.
McSally was a terrible candidate, but I'm sorry, who sent that tweet? Was that
was
the mayor of Tijuana or President Trump?
President Trump.
President of the United States. Okay, yes. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of fighting going on right now. The people in Tijuana don't want migrants there. They see crime. They see people flooding the streets.
Garrett, I'm not asking about. We had William Longinus down there to tell us what's happening in Mexico.
Sure.
I'm asking you. I'm asking you though. Arizona is a border state. If things are as bad as the president is saying they are, why didn't McSally win?
She was a really bad candidate. She didn't go out and really try to hustle. There are some conservatives that think Arizona is just a red state and I don't have to do much. She went from not liking Trump, really disliking President Trump, to all of a sudden loving him when he had success. And voters weren't fooled. They didn't know what she would do. They didn't know who to trust. And Kyrsten Sinema had a long time to craft messaging.
You're confident that this kind of messaging works to keep Arizona red for the president in 2020?
Well, yeah, I really do. Because, again, McSally was for amnesty and DACA, and then she was against it when she wanted to run for Senate.
I got a hard wrap. I got to run. We'll talk to you fellas soon. Enjoy the sunshine out there.
Thank you.
Take care, guys. Jillian?
Tensions between the U.S. and China are running high this weekend after the APEC summit came to a close in Papua New Guinea, but the member countries failed to deliver a joint communique. Trey Yingst joins us now with the fallout. Trey?
Jillian, normally on the last day of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit, leaders present a written declaration of agreed-upon ideas. But this year, amid tension between China and the United States, the conference ended without consensus. Now, according to reports, the World Trade Organization was a major sticking point. Vice President Mike Pence, on behalf of the United States, argued that leaders should denounce the organization and call for its reform. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill of Papua New Guinea, where the event was being held, pushed back against that idea, saying it was an issue that should be addressed at the World Trade Organization. This is Pence and Chinese President Xi Jinping exchanged jabs in remarks Saturday, with Xi Jinping criticizing the Trump administration's America First policies, and Pence saying, quote, the U.S. will not change course until China changes its ways. Vice President referring to $25 billion worth of tariffs levied against the U.S. against Chinese goods earlier this year. I want you to take a listen to what Vice President Mike Pence said there in Papua New Guinea.
We have great respect for President Xi and great respect for China. But, in the President's words, China's taken advantage of the United States for many, many years. And those days are over.
The tension between China and the United States expected to play out later this month at the G20 summit in Argentina that will be attended by both President Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping. Jillian?
Trey, thanks for that.
All right, 10 seconds left. Get the popcorn ready. Chris Wallace has President Trump.
It is a great interview.
It is an awesome interview. A lot of news coming your way. Chris Wallace.
Happy Thanksgiving.